let's get started with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, I think the way I'd like to organize our time tonight is we'll start the meeting and we'll actually have two opportunities for public input. So I'd like to try something new in response to some feedback we've received from citizens on how we organize a meeting. So the first part of the meeting, we'll share a little bit on what we know on the legislation that's been proposed. I'll share what I know, and I'll turn to my fellow commissioners who have all been following this pretty closely and let them share what they know. And then we will pause and have an opportunity for public input. And so y'all can tell us what you know and ask us any questions. We'll do our best to try to answer them. If we get into asking questions now, we'll have to keep it short. I think based on the number of people, we had at least 4 sheets of folks signed up. We're going to have to try to shoot for 2 minutes, no more than 2 minutes for remarks. And if you ask us a question, we've got to have time to answer that question. We'll probably have to do it pretty quickly so we can keep rolling along. I'm going to try to get us out of here by 6 o'clock. I think that'll be ample time for us to have a good discussion and answer questions and things. So after we have the first opportunity for input, then we'll pause and the commission will do our work. We'll decide if there's some discussion or deliberation action that we might want to take. And then before we conclude that, we'll have public input again. So one of the things I've heard from a number of citizens is that sometimes they want to hear our deliberations before they provide their input. So we're going to try something a little bit different tonight to make sure that everybody gets time to ask questions and provide input. I will try to manage the time, so if I ask you to wrap it up, I hope you'll be sensitive to that, just so that everybody gets a chance to speak and offer their viewpoints. And then with that, we might come back to any action that we want to take, and then we will take that action and adjourn our meeting. So Commissioners, does that sound okay to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, we do have 2 pieces of legislation that we've become aware of. This is House Bill 980 and Senate Bill 965. These are bills that have been introduced into the session of the state legislature. State legislature doesn't go all year long. Their legislative season is pretty much January through April. So they are in Nashville a good bit of the time. Our state legislators, they're doing their work. They participate there pretty much Monday through Thursday, I believe. Sometimes they got to work on Friday. And then they've got to travel back to their districts and do all their family life and other things like that. So this legislation has been introduced, and I think I've read it before a couple of times. I don't know if I'm able to read the legislation again tonight or not. If I have it handy, I'll try to read it out. Anybody have a copy of it? Just, it's pretty short, and that way that'll get everybody on the same page. You got it, Commissioner Hankins? Okay. So these are 2 companion bills, and the legislation is the same in both of them. So I'm only going to read it one time, but if you go online, it's the same. So this says, be enacted by the General Assembly of the State of Tennessee. Section 1, Tennessee Code Annotated Title 7, Chapter 69, is amended by the following new section. A tourism development authority formed pursuant to this chapter, owning a tract of real property, of which all or any portion thereof is contained within the incorporated territory of a municipality, may petition the municipality to de-annex such property if the de-annexation of the property does not create an area of unincorporated territory that is completely surrounded by the municipal boundaries. Now, that's a thought exercise, you'll have to do that. The petition must include a map of the plat seeking de-annexation. Upon receiving the petition for de-annexation, municipality shall determine the debt owed pursuant to 651-204, if any, within 30 days. The de-annexation of the property becomes operative 60 days after the receipt of the petition by the municipality. Except for responsibility for debt newly contracted by the territory was annexed, and prior to the surrender of the jurisdiction, all municipal jurisdiction ceases over the territory excluded from the municipality's corporate limits on the operative date of the contraction, accomplished through the petition described in this section. Section 2, this act takes effect upon becoming a law, the public welfare requirements. So that's what the legislation is, as far as we know it. Right now, this was introduced at the beginning of the legislative sections. It was introduced in the House, I believe, by Tom Stennett, and in the Senate by Tom Hatcher. And it sits within two different committees. In the House, it sits within the Cities and
House Cities and Communities Subcommittee.
House Cities and Communities Subcommittee, which is chaired by Jerome Moon. And in the Senate, it sits in the
Agriculture and Natural Energy, Agriculture, and Natural Resources Subcommittee.
Energy, Agriculture, and Natural Resources Subcommittee. And conveniently, y'all can follow along. It's not hard to find this legislation. If you Google it, there's a real nice website. You can track it. You can see day by day what happens with the legislation. You can look at the calendar and figure out, when it's going to go into each committee and things like that. And so it's already gone in, been looked at, and assigned to committees at this point, and that's where it resides. Now I did check online earlier today, and it looks like it may be discussed in these committees next week on March the 12th. And so that'll be the first opportunity, I think, for it to really be discussed in that committee. But y'all can track that and find out and see its progress. I will say that we were not informed about the legislation prior to its introduction, so the city was not advised this legislation was going to be introduced. So we didn't have an opportunity to weigh in on that, although the issues are not new to us. But we were not consulted on that. Some people have asked me about that. Right now, each of our commissioners have been reaching out in different ways to our state legislators and other folks to learn more about the legislation and what the potential impacts might be on our community. And so, as y'all are aware, the visitor center sits on a piece of property pretty much right smack dab in the middle of town, about 40 acres. I guess everybody knows where it is. And it will potentially have some significant consequences for our city should it be de-annexed. And so the reason that I've heard that it might be desirable, or that some groups, I guess this legislation was developed by lobbyists and asked our legislators to introduce it. But the rationale that I've heard is that the city of Townsend has somehow changed or taken an overly restrictive posture on special events and other things. And so one of the things I'd like to do tonight is just set the facts straight a little bit. So we have adopted a special event ordinance. We did it a couple of years ago. Many of the commissioners that you see before you were involved in the development of that legislation that came through several public workshops, and we've been doing our best to try to implement the special events ordinance over the past 2 years. If any of y'all have come to our meetings, you'll see us taking a pretty good chunk of our city time to actually review these special event applications. These special event applications include not only things at the visitor center, but everything else that goes on in our town. We have events at the Heritage Center, Little River Railroad and Lumber Company Museum, different locations all throughout the city. We have road races that come through, car events. If y'all have come and listen to any of these. It's pretty amazing, the number of special events that we have. And often, these events actually provide benefits to some of our local charities, and they actually seek to benefit our communities. But one of the narratives that's out there is that Townsend has somehow taken an overly restrictive posture on this, and my recollection is we've approved nearly all of these special event permit applications. Now, sometimes we've asked for a little modification because that special event process is the main way that we coordinate for public safety. Nearly each and every one of these events, we ask Chief Condi, how's that going to look with traffic flow? What other events are happening? We try to be real thoughtful in looking at these events. But the upshot of it is that these events have largely been approved, almost every one of them. And so that narrative that there's an overly restrictive posture, I'm not sure that that's necessarily the case. So that's one fact I'd like to get out there. So right now, I think we're just trying to learn more about this legislation. The more we learn about it, the more concerning I think it becomes. It's statewide legislation, so another thing to keep in mind is that even though it's written as the way I described it, with that thought exercise of what does it mean when a municipality might contract and, with respect to its borders, but this is statewide legislation, and so this legislation would pertain to any other municipality, small city, community. And so one of the things that we have been working very hard to do over the last over a year is to update our community plan. And so we have been working to update our land use and transportation plan. We call it our community plan. And part of that work that we're doing is to be able to plan and provide for the visitor center. And the visitor center has been part of our community for many years. In fact, that visitor center, my understanding, could be corrected by folks in the audience, might actually have more firsthand knowledge, but that visitor center was given by our local businesses to the Chamber of Commerce with the understanding that it would be had good stewardship, continue to work with our community. It continues to be funded by our hotel and motel tax from the city of Townsend. So we're real invested in that visitor center. It hosts some real nice events. It hosts some things and allows our community to do things that we couldn't have done otherwise. So if you think about how we get organized for the Christmas parade, we used to do it down by the IGA, and we'd have all kinds of people and floats and musical instruments and horses and everything else down there. Well, we can organize ourselves up at the visitor center, and that's worked out, I think, pretty well this past year. So it is a community resource. It's part of our community, and it's something that we've invested in, not only our businesses, but our resources from our community over time. So it's important that we find a way forward, and the community plan would, I think, be a preferred way to go about this rather than de-annexation. Now, that facility has some unique characteristics, and I think as we talked about it in our community plan, there are some opportunities to be able to address that through zoning and other things that would make a whole lot more sense. So I think there is a better way. But we are tracking this legislation, and we are engaging with our state legislators. We're all doing it in different ways. I have spoken with each of our legislators about it. I've expressed some concerns and I've asked some questions. And one of the things that I'm hearing from our legislators is that, number one, they have to look out for everybody. So, they are elected to look out for, larger areas of the county or the region than we are. But they care about us and they're listening to us. And so there will be opportunities, I think, going forward to be able to participate with our state legislators, and I would encourage you to do that. So I think that's what I know, and I'll go around the table now and see what other commissioners would like to add. We'll start with the Vice Mayor.
Well, first of all, thank you all so much for being here. It's a really good outcome to see everybody and be involved. This is what community is all about, is coming together and being informed, and so I appreciate y'all being here, but I am aware of the same information as the mayor just said. For me, I did reach out to our state legislators February the 11th. I have not received anything back as of yet, but I did intend to reach back out again, but as of right now, my questions haven't been answered, but they were probably the same as the mayor's questions. You know, what sort of impacts would this legislation have on our town? And, you know, for me, I just want us to be good neighbors and just have a good relationship with our neighbors. And so that is where I'm at with this. And so like I said on the news a couple weeks ago, that I do not think that the annexation is the best approach. So I'm hoping that we can find a way to work through this and just be good neighbors and good community with each other. So, but I do intend to reach back out to those state legislators. I know they're very busy, but I have not heard anything back yet for my questions. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Hedrick? Okay. Commissioner Martin?
I did reach out to Senator Hatcher. We have spoken on the telephone, and I've shared his advice at our last commission meeting that we needed to sit down and have some discussions with the partnership and see if we could come to some resolutions just sitting down. We have not had that opportunity to set up a meeting yet with the partnership to discuss anything. That is all that I have at this moment.
Thanks, Commissioner Martin.
My contact with, on this thing is through emails. And I've emailed every state representative and every state senator 3 times with my opinion. Not just don't vote, an elaborate opinion of why. I've gotten replies from several of them that asked more questions and answered questions. But as far as having phone contact, I have not.
Okay. Thanks, Commissioner Jenkins. Okay, I think that's the extent of what we know about the legislation. Now, we'll open it up for public comment. Let me remind you that you've got 2 opportunities, so maybe try not to double dip. We'll have 2 opportunities. We'll try to hold it to about 2 minutes per comment. We've got a lot of people signed up. What you can do is you can tell us what you know, you can express an opinion, or you can ask us a question. Now, asking questions, we've got to be very mindful of the time that we have, so we'll do our best to try to answer the questions based on what we know, but we can't get into an extensive back and forth and still allow everybody to speak and us to do our work. So with that, let's turn to the list and see who we've got would like to speak.
Tommy, back up one.
Okay, can we also bring the podium up here in case people want to speak in front of the podium? And I would ask our folks to address the commission. Sometimes it's hard when you got all your friends and neighbors behind you. You want to talk to them, but the way we should operate is folks come into the microphone, introduce themselves. You can optionally tell us if you're a resident of the city, if you want to do that, and then provide your comments or opinions.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and the Board of Commissioners. I wanted to piggyback on something that you just said. While this is a statewide bill, it was introduced by lobbyists from Blood Partnership, and both Hatcher and Stinnett are representatives from our area, so it's very clear that it was directed at us. Our citizens and businesses benefit from tourism dollars. There's no question about it. Our citizens and visitors do not benefit from events that are out of control, both in sheer number of people and if their purpose does not fit in with the ethos of the community. Unfettered festivals, especially those with no oversight from the citizenry, will quickly overrun the rights of our community. Balance requires a give and take from both sides, not an overruling by the one with the deepest pockets. Businesses that meet the needs of both residents and visitors are beneficial to our town. Being told that we have to accept development because it benefits corporations and county developers is not. All officials elected by a citizenry run on a platform to which their constituents believe they will be true. I believe that the citizens of Townsend and our surrounding areas overwhelmingly want to see Townsend kept peaceful. All of the research from the community plan workshops bear this out. I applaud the members of our city council and by extension the planning commission who put their own agendas aside in order to represent the people that voted for them. You are our neighbors and friends, but you are elected to represent us. If the de-annexation bill passes, I urge the mayor to officially make an emergency request for tourism funds from the Blount County Commission to be used for legal fees for Townsend to fight House Bill 0980, etc. The taxes were earned in Townsend. We ought to be able to use them to defend ourselves just as Blount Partnership does. Thank you.
Got a part of a speech from me. Thank you for hearing me today. I have done business in town for 27 years. I've been a philanthropist.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, we can pull it to the side and get it a little closer.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you real good. Thanks, Richard.
I've worked with Townsend for 26 years. I've been a philanthropist into Townsend and the community. I've owned businesses here, I still own businesses here. This is the worst thing that I have ever seen in my 27 years of doing business here. I've been coming here all my life. I have a home here. But how do you think that you're going to pay the bills if you eliminate tourism? Whether you like it or not, this is a tourism town. You got the Great Smoky Mountains right there. You have people that come through here every day to go to the Great Smoky Mountains, and you want them to stop in Townsend. That's the way you pay the bills. If you eliminate tourism, there has never been an industry in Townsend, Tennessee since the Little River Railroad. And it's not going to happen. You don't have sewer here. You're not going to have sewer here in my lifetime. People think that since that new water line's coming, you're going to have sewer. I'm the director of a sewer city or utility district in Knoxville, Tennessee. You can't put a sewer line on the same side of the street as you have a water line. And they say you're going to run it. Oh, well, that's not true either. So it's all facts and fiction. And I'm sorry, and I'm being perfectly honest with you, I blame this government body for doing what they're doing and making it hard for them to have events in Townsend, Tennessee. The Balloon Festival, I spoke to this body once before. This Balloon Festival, we give money to the Townsend Elementary School, which everyone wants money from Townsend. I personally give money to the Townsend Elementary School, okay? And then we didn't have one park right. And we give tens of thousands of dollars to the fire department. And you all fined us $50 because we didn't have beer permit. I mean, it's ludicrous to think from a business standpoint that you're governing this town. And trust me, the people who vote for you, the property taxes are going to go up if this goes through. Trust me, they will go up.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, next.
Weston? No, I can't read the list.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Pass, okay. Christina Delaney?
Yeah, if you pass, you get another shot. Okay.
First of all, if you say 2 minutes, it should be 2 minutes, and I said 2 minutes, and then I got threatened to be thrown out by the chief, who got quite crazy.
It's not your place.
Okay, we'll keep it close to 2 minutes. Please go ahead.
So, it just needs to be fair anyways. Nobody's asking for no tourism. That's the silliest thing to say ever.
Yes.
We all want tourism. We've all supported tourism, and that is just not the case. The park is completely full in the summer. If anybody saw what happened this summer, we can't afford too many more people in that park. So to want festivals continually with 15,000 people, that's just not going to work. And that's all we're saying. You know, this is a tourism place and everyone accepts that. So, there was something else, I can't remember what it is, but I got frustrated with the told me to get there.
You'll have another shot. We'll give you one more minute. You only took a minute. Okay.
Jeff Joplin?
Commissioner Johnson. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for being here. So I am county commissioner elected. I represent this area within the county, but I also, when I was elected, I was appointed by the county mayor. I serve on the Tourism Authority Board, okay? That board exists for the exclusive reason of promoting tourism, which I think everyone that lives here, everyone that has a business here agrees is important. And you know what, this lobbying that's happened, that has this before the state of Tennessee, was not something that we voted on in the board. That was not something that was ever, you know, I heard whispers of it, but it was not something that we got to vote on. It was not an actionable item. I, on the tourism board, did indeed vote, you know, to approve the monies for the big $7 million bathroom and all that stuff, because they needed to have the restroom facilities. They needed all that stuff to be able to have the festivals that they were holding. But the reason I approved all of that was because at the time, the city of Townsend still has the right to issue the permits for whether they can and cannot hold those events. So I'm personally super angry that Tom Stennett and Tom Hatcher would be introducing this to take it out of the hands of the city of Townsend to allow them to make those decisions. Because it should be the right of the people. I'm the only elected person on the Tourism Authority Board. And I wasn't elected for that position, I was elected for the county commission. So I'm the only government oversight of that entire thing. And I don't think that's right. That should be looked at and revisited, because you should be able to elect people out of those positions if you don't like what they're doing. Unfortunately, the only person you can elect out of that position is me, and I'm on your side. But I do, and I'm going to be over 2 minutes, so if you want me to stop, I will.
Our county commissioner will give you a little bit more time.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I've heard it argued that that property is, and understand, the tourism board is not the enemy. They want to promote tourism that we all need. So I'm not here to like dog them and say that it's bad. But what I am saying is that I've heard the argument that that's private property and that they have the right to do what they want with that property. But it is not private property as far as I'm concerned. That property was purchased with tax dollars. It was purchased with tax dollars that is a pass-through tax, the 5% county lodging tax, that we have 3 businesses that provide that tax, that generate that tax. We don't pay it per se, but by God, we pay it in the cost of groceries living here in Townsend. We pay that by the fact that we live here. So I think that to say that that's private property is a misnomer. It's public property. It's paid for by tax dollars. So make no mistake about that. Now, the way the law looks at that, I can't say. It probably is considered private property, but that should be revisited by the state legislature, not the ability to de-annex it. And as far as the county commissioner is concerned, I think it's atrocious that they would be considering taking away the tax revenue that comes to the city of Townsend over doing this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mike Aker?
Commissioner Akers.
My name is Mike Akers. I've spent much of my life in Townsend on a piece of property next to the Delian pub that beside the strawberry patch that my grandparents bought 68 years ago. My battles with Townsend have been no secret in being able to use my property to camp on my property. But that's not why I'm here today. What I came here today to do is share an amendment that was supposed to have happened yesterday and will happen Monday to the two bills. I will start with where the mayor read a tourism development authority formed pursuant to the chapter owning land, attractive real property of which any portion thereof is contained within the incorporated territory of the municipality may petition the municipality to de-annex such property if the de-annexation of the property does not create an area of unincorporated territory that is completely surrounded by the municipality. Mayor read that, and it stays the same. The petition must include a map of the plat seeking de-annexation. That's the same. Upon receiving the petition for de-annexation, the municipality shall determine the amount of debt owed pursuant to the Tennessee Code annotated, if any, within 30 days. That's the same. Forward a copy of the petition to each county legislative body that contains territory that is being de-annexed for approval by the legislative body. That's new. And what that means is they can't annex without approval of the county commission. So down there at the bottom part, it says the de-annexation of the property becomes operative 60 days after receipt of the petition by the municipality or upon the approval of the county legislative body by majority vote, whichever is later. So that has been added to take away their power to just omnipotently do what they were proposing to do. And it puts it upon the county commission to approve it by simple majority.
Okay. Well, let me just clarify. So what you're telling us is this is an amendment that you think will be offered. It's
It
not-
will be on the books Monday. It was supposed to have been on the books yesterday.
And this will be an amendment to both the House bill and the Senate bill.
Correct.
And basically it will say that it has to be approved by the county.
Correct.
Okay. And it's the county that establishes the tourism authority.
The county doesn't establish the tourism authority. The tourism authority is established by both the county and the city of Alcoa and the city of Maryville, and it has to be a unanimous vote to establish that tourism authority. But
Okay. But it's
the
tourism
de-annexation would be
county.
going into the county, and the county would have to officially accept it for that to take place.
But basically the county is an entity as part of the tourism board. That was established.
I assume that's what you're saying, but we don't really have any vote.
Okay, and that this amendment would sort of give it back to the county, that also is the one that establishes the tourism board.
Correct.
Okay.
But you have commissioners like Mr. Jopling that are adamantly opposed to that happening, and a couple more over here that are weighing their options about what they think about that has to happen rather than it just being what the Blunt Partnership decides they want to do after they've won a couple of lawsuits, which is what they've stated publicly that they want to do, is they don't want to de-annex until after they've won 2 lawsuits for Townsend stepping on their rights. If the courts don't decide that Townsend stepped on their rights, they never have any intention of de-annexing. But they did state that in their public meeting. I'm just trying to make sure everybody has as many facts as I know. So,
Okay.
there you go.
Thank you very much. That's new information, and we appreciate that. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Aker. Next up.
There's a couple of chairs up here if anybody, and spread out a little bit if anybody wants any.
We still got space on the front pew. If anybody wants to come on in and join us. Okay.
William
All right.
Walker.
Vice.
Okay.
Pat?
Tina Ray.
Hey there, my name is Tina Ray. I own REO Cheese Wagon Food Truck. I do a lot of business in Townsend and in Blount County. So I'm going to start off with the end of what I was going to say, which is the de-annexation is not proposed out of defiance, but out of necessity to protect the integrity of businesses ensure fair treatment, and continue contributing to a thriving Townsend. In 2022, when this started, the partnership met with the commission, most of you know that, and openly shared plans. They approved the vision, granting a building permit and certificate of occupancy. Now, it looks like that some commissioners are unfairly restricting events even when they align with existing ordinances and similar events that continue elsewhere in town. One of those examples is the Seafood Festival, which was rejected to begin with, and then a laser light show, but those are just a couple of things. When the claims come up that the city loses sales tax revenue, my business is in Blount County. I've been a business owner for 8 years in Blount County. I pay my sales tax based on where my business is located, and I did have a question a couple of times about a particular day that we held business at an event at the fairgrounds or the event space, and how would I pay that particular sales tax? And that's not realistic. We've done events all over the state, and never have we been asked to pay the sales tax to the one particular location. I pay that to the state, and then that's distributed. So that's not my job. That's the state's, and I'm very thankful that they do that. So the events directly benefit the community. For instance, funding the volunteer fire department through the parking fees. When you pay that $20 to come to, say, the Bigfoot Festival, and there's a local fireman that takes that money, that goes into the volunteer fire department fund, not to the Blunt Partnership or to one of the vendors there. Those vendors depend on the events to support and sustain their business and employ other people throughout the year, myself included. It's really important for us to have that. When I come to Townsend, I have supported Townsend's economy. I fuel up locally. I shop at the IGA. I get more ice than you can imagine at every gas station around here. I get my coffee. I wash my food truck at the Ace Hardware. I use the services. I pay my permits, and I frequent the restaurants and businesses. I've consistently invested in Townsend as a community and as a city as a whole. Small businesses like mine employ locals, we spend local dollars, we live and play and enjoy the beauty of this place. The events are crucial to that. I don't think you're anti-event, but de-annexation is not the answer, and I'm looking for an opportunity that we can work this together, but the festivals are really important. We have a brand new parkway that people could bypass Townsend altogether, and I don't think that's anybody's desire either. So unlike cities where the council weighs in on matters like law enforcement support or beer permits, some events have turned into a political spectacle. Private citizens standing before the council like defendant in a court, pleading their case to hold an event, some of which have taken place for nearly a decade, and a vocal minority heckles and shouts down any support. I don't think that that's anybody's goal, and thank you very much for hearing that.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll take just a minute to answer your question and make just a clarification. Mobile food vendor sales tax does go back to wherever that mobile food vendor is registered. So if they're registered here in Townsend, and most are not, we don't collect any sales tax. You just have to send that normally. So we're not trying to collect any sales tax from mobile food vendors.
That has happened.
Okay.
Yes, I've been asked to pay my sales tax here at an event.
In Townsend?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we're happy to follow up on that, but that's not my understanding. We'll follow up on that. And both the events that you mentioned, the Seafood Festival and the Balloon Festival, those events were approved to happen at the event center. So, okay, next up.
Mary Kay Jenkins. Hi, I'm Mary Kay Jenkins. Thank you for letting me say a few things. Okay, I didn't visit Townsend growing up as a kid. I'd never been here until we moved to Knoxville. So I didn't move here for the same reasons everybody else did. I moved here because I wanted to live on the river and go fishing, and because it was a small, quiet town with not a lot of traffic or festivals. And I'm curious,
It was mentioned that what partnership, I think Mr. Joplin said, is going to make sure they have 2 lawsuits. If they care about us so much, why are they going to have lawsuits against us or to get what they want? That doesn't show caring. Lawsuits do not show that you care. I said, and I don't understand, Mr. Maples said our property taxes will go up. I don't understand why they're going to go up. If they're bringing 50 million people here for tourists, why are we going to have to pay property taxes? I don't understand that either.
We don't have the property.
I know we don't, but he said they would go up.
Okay.
So that's my question.
Property tax, you would have a property tax.
What?
You'll have
Okay.
a property tax.
I don't know what he said.
Okay, that's
Okay.
okay, you'll have another shot.
It's, none of us ever said we didn't want any tourists here. That's never been an issue. And then we don't want to be the festival tourist center of East Tennessee, like Blunt Partnership said they wanted to do. We don't want a festival 2 to 4 times a month. We don't want that. We used to just have, what, 2 festivals a year? 3. I've lived here for over 20 years. And then people say Townsend's dying. Townsend is not dying and wasn't dying. Townsend was small, quiet, and peaceful. We had a volunteer police department, and it's not new that they got the money from parking at the visitor center when there were events. That has always been that way. I remember paying $5, and I think now it's probably gone up to $20. But they have always gotten money from that, and we've always supported the fire department, police department. So some of the things they're saying, I don't understand. I absolutely believe Blunt Partnership does not care about the citizens that live here. They care about more money and doing what they want to do and not being told what to do.
Okay. Let me just clarify, I think you were referring to Mr. Akers' remarks, not
Yes.
Mr. Johnson's. Okay, next.
Hi, my name is Brandy Soche. I've been a resident of Townsend about 8 years. Started 10 years ago, but moved here 8 years ago. I have done everything from drive your school bus in town to shop here, bother all the officials every chance I get, come to bingo nights. I love this town. I lived my life backwards to move here instead of waiting to retire. So anyway, I am also in the Airbnb overnight and long-term rental business. So tourism is something that I rely on, but I love my small little town. I have some concerns with this. I think it's terrible that you were not personally notified. Generally, when a property is being changed, any type of zoning, there's some sort of meeting and notification, so this is even bigger than that. That's kind of surprising to me. But I have a question. Will the county make the money rather than the city if it's annexed? That would be one question, and how that would impact Townsend. Will the police have the burden of traffic and safety, and what financial impact that will have on us? The citizens definitely will have the burden of traffic. I know to get all my groceries ahead of time and hunker down or hunker out when these festivals come in, because we do not have the infrastructure. You can shoot across, you can take Cameron Road, come up Webb Road, shoot to Cedar Creek, and dead stop at Lewis Valley. I mean, there's just no way to get around when these events come. And I'm not saying we don't need events, but I think they need to be in check, and that was something that I assume you do very well. So, but it is a problem for citizens not being able to get in, and I'm sure it's a problem for paramedics and EMS and all sorts of things that we wouldn't even know. I don't think this town is ready for that kind of traffic in here. We really don't have the restaurants. I know that they say they're big money events, but I don't know. These people come in for the day and they leave for the day festivals. I know the Super Celebration, the Bronco Rally, that's a 4-day event. People come, they stay, they eat, but the one-day festivals I think are a bit more problematic. So I wonder how much Townsend would actually benefit from those. Am I done?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we're getting close to time.
Okay.
Okay. Just a quick note on sales tax. I'll try to answer the question. Any purchases that are made or things that are done actually on the property right now, we would receive sales tax from, with the exception of like a mobile food vendor.
Okay.
So if there's something, we would receive that now, but in the future, if it was de-annexed, we would not receive that.
Right.
And if it's de-annexed, my understanding would be that all the public safety requirements would then go to the county and would not be with us. Some challenges there with coordination just based on the location. So,
Right, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next.
Sandy Hooker. Already, I was at the last of the list.
Your time is up. Your moment is up.
My 1 minute is up. Well, I really wanted to speak at the end instead of now, but I'll take an opportunity now and then have a second chance when it comes around.
Okay.
We've heard a lot from the rights of the citizens, and all these vocal citizens, which, yes, they live in Townsend. But when they moved to Townsend, in a nutshell, it was what it is today, a tourism town. It was created as a tourism town. That's why the government put the entrance here, the railroad, everything. So you knew what you were getting into when you came. Festivals help us. The visitor center helps us in the motel business, in the cabin rentals. Yes, if they de-annex, we're not going to be hurting us citywide for sales tax. But you will see business decline because they're not bringing in tourists. If you think the IGA can survive on locals, if you think the gas stations can survive on locals, you need to think again, because tourism here benefits all of us. And the events created bring in people. If it's a one-day event, I would beg to differ with the lady that it brings in overnight people. So without that, it does not bring in the revenue that the city would want to have. There's a lot of things that I wanted to comment on, but I will hang on to that until the end.
Okay.
Last one.
Do we have anyone else signed up to speak at this time?
John Hedrick.
Don Hedrick. I've seen your ring.
I'm Don Hedrick. I live here in town, born here in Townsend, live and work here. I read in the paper, like Will Rogers, something I know what I read in the paper. It says, the mayor said no one reached out to him about the potential legislation change. Wonder why. Also, I read in the paper, the mission statement on the chamber, which the Tourism Authority is part of, is to promote economic growth, stability, foster community development, and enhance quality of life in the region. I was in meetings here where I saw the planning commission, this planning commission, approved plans for major improvements at the property near Townsend Visitor Center. As the Tourism Authority worked through their improvements, they also were able to continue with some of their major events on the side. And it might have been an inconvenience to some while they were doing all that. Also during this time frame, the City of Townsend government implemented regulations pertaining to events which could be held within its city boundaries. These were targeted directly to that Tourism Authority. I also observed some council members scrutinize every aspect of each event to find some reason to reject their permit if it didn't coincide with their needs or thoughts. I also read in the Daily Times, some citizens said these events were making life unlivable for its residents. Crowding the roads, putting undue strain on the infrastructure and first responders. Now this is what's in the paper. I'm not sure what unlivable means. Maybe someone can explain. Now about crowding the roads. What's the problem? Is it because we're spoiled? because we don't want to be inconvenienced when we go to our local grocery market or hardware. We could use the back roads. We're local, we know how to get around. Let's look at infrastructure. What?
You can continue, Mr. Cook.
Let's look at infrastructure and first responders. First, infrastructure. What does this event center impact? Communication networks? No. Sewage? No. Water? No. School systems? No. Transportation? I don't think so. Maybe one of these commissioners can tell me. Is this road here, this 4-lane, is it designed to handle the traffic we have? I think so. As I recall, the chief of police was asked about handling traffic for these large events. He replied in having the traffic pattern tweaked as it being of no problem. What about the fire department, first responders, the police department? Can we not say they're the backbone of the infrastructure of this town? I think so, don't you? First, let's look at the fire department and first responders. In case you fail to be informed about the funding for these volunteer organizations, they have reported that the major part of their budget comes from their work at these special events. You should give them a big hug. Second, let's look at the Townsend Police Department. They're the ones who make the traffic flow smooth.
Mr. Hedrick, we're gonna have to, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Anybody want to yield a time to me?
You go right ahead, please.
I'm about to.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the police department. They're the ones that make the traffic flow smooth. These events allow them to earn extra pay when they work these. From the organizers, not the city, these organizers get it. Also, because of their relationship with the Blount County Sheriff's Department, they are usually available to the entire valley within minutes. Now back to the big question. Why did no one in local or state leadership reach out to the mayor about the legislation change? Is it because of you only listen to the small vocal group who doesn't earn their living from tourism? You know, there are others who have different points of view than yourself. I think it's time you explore ways to work with the ones who have dedicated their lives to making our town a pleasant place to live and work. Now, I underline that, live and work. Or are you going to continue to try to please the ones who just came here and selfishly stop tourism? If you go this route, you're on the way to a property tax.
Thank you. I just want to clarify on one point, special event ordinance applies to all the events in the city. So my guess is it's probably at least half of the events that come forward on special events are not ones that are held on the visitor center site. And there's only been 2 that we've declined, and neither one of them was on, well, actually one was on the visitor center site and one was not. But we've only declined 2. Would you like to come and speak?
Remark to one of his remarks?
You can come.
As far as this back road stuff.
Can't hear.
If you could provide your name.
Valley Hofacker.
Uh-huh.
As far as these back road things, my road is blocked.
You're supposed to.
That I can't get home by policemen, and they tell me to make a U-turn. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have to make a U-turn because they're making their things so much bigger. Myers Road is blocked. And I'm told to make a U-turn. Shouldn't be.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dixon, you wanted to? I'm sorry, could you tell us your name one more time?
Valley Holbacker.
Valley Holbacker. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, now, I don't want to cut it off, but if there's anybody else wants to say anything right now, if you come a second time, that'll be it for you. So I'm going to give everybody a second shot, try to stay within the minutes.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can I please interject, just for anybody that doesn't know? That last bit, completely false.
No.
Do not interrupt me.
Oh,
Completely false. We have actually signage preventing or instructing event traffic to stay off Myers Road, not residents. And residents are permitted to go to their house, so nobody's blocked for their home. That's just absolutely false. So
Thanks,
we
Chief.
go out of our way to take care of our citizens that live up there.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate residents are able to express their view of it, and we appreciate your view of it as well. Okay.
On page 6, I live on Mars Road. It's been many times. Mars Road's been blocked and taken over by the coast.
I'm sorry, can you tell us your name again?
Dave Webb.
Oh, Dave Webb. Okay, yes, sir. And you live on Myers Road?
Yes.
Okay.
My property owns for the partnership.
Okay.
It's been many times they got that Mars Road blocked.
That's right.
Okay.
You can check it out all you want, but how long it's been a place like that.
They made, the improvements have been made. It's not.
Okay, Mr. Webb's got the floor. For at least another few seconds.
Like first time, we could not get on Mars Road. So they think they own Mars Road. They park in the middle of the road. Place to stand there and look at them, won't make them move. That's one big problem.
Thank you
Thank you.
for sharing that with us, Mr. Webb. Mr. Maples?
I'll make this very brief. I'm here for Townsend, not for me.
Can't hear you.
I'm here for Townsend, not for me, not for Blount County, not for the chambership or the chamber partnership. I urge this body to get with the Townsend, the Blount County partnership, because this is a lose-lose situation for Townsend. You can't win it. There's no way humanly possible that you can win this. No way. Right.
Thank you, Mr. Maples. Okay. Yeah. We'll take whoever'd like to come and speak.
I'm not gonna let you stay.
You can be next. If you just wouldn't mind stating your name.
My name is Steve Michaels. I'm a county commissioner, and this is a mess. And I think a lot of your county commissioners, I've seen Facebook posts and people prodding county commission to do something. The way this tourism board is set up, it was set up by some very intelligent people a long time ago, long before any of us had any say-so in anything. And I'm afraid that, now I'm not saying that I like how this has happened or what has been brought to the table. But I think Townsend, from just looking back and some other things that I've watched, and I'm in a district that joins this, and if you can't tell, I've lived here all my life. And Townsend is a lovely community. It has drawn a lot of what people want to call permanent residents for the rest of their life. And it is a great place to be. When I was a kid, I went to Heritage High School, and I would lay out of school, and we'd go up here and go to Cove, and we'd go, just come up here and play in the river, different spots, and, you know, really didn't get run off from anywhere. Times have changed. Things have changed. Blount County as a whole has changed. It's going to continue to change. What we've got to do, and I'm not saying that I like necessarily the tactic, but you've got some folks that have made a significant investment with your all's approval. And then in the meantime, and I'm not saying I like this tactic, but what I'm telling you is if I was a board member and a mayor, Monday morning I'd be down there at the Blount Partnership. And you gotta talk, and you gotta talk through it. Because what this gentleman told you is exactly what's gonna happen. Townsend is going to lose this battle. You can't fight. And I'm not, again, hear me when I say I don't agree with the tactic. But you are fighting a losing battle. And I wish I had something else to tell you. But the best thing I can tell you to do is go to the table, sit down, and be negotiable. For the people that want it and for the people who don't want it. You've got to find that middle ground. You're not going to please everybody, and you've got to find, that's your job. And that's the partnership's job. I don't think that they're necessarily trying to hurt Townsend. I think they just have a different idea of what they want out of Townsend. But you've got to meet in the middle. And it has to happen now. Because at this time next week, you may be looking at something that's heading to the House floor for a vote if it hadn't happened already. And a state Senate floor vote if it hadn't happened already. Because once they get through these committees, it's going to get faster and it's going to be over and you're going to be standing in your kitchen fixing dinner and you're going to go, oh crap. This what's going on, that's great. But you better get down to Marable. And you can like me, hate me, whatever you want to, but you just need to go to the table and be negotiable. That's all there is to do at this point. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Appreciate all our county commissioners being here.
Yeah, there's several county commissioners, County Commissioner Nick Wright, County Commissioner Mike Aker, you've already heard from him, and your all's most precious County Commissioner Jeff Joplin from your district. So, again, I just want you all to know that we hear you, we see you, and we know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Michael. You can come ahead. Let me just respond a little bit to Commissioner Michaels. We've had an ongoing process with our update of our community development plan.
Understand.
So my thought, and we'll see if it's the commissioner's thought, the annexation is bad. It will be bad for the Townsend. It will be bad all the way around. It is not a good solution. A better solution is to work through the update of our community plan. Now, Mr. Brian Daniels is a senior advisor on our Community Plan Advisory Committee. If you all have attended any of those meetings, or if you watch any of the recordings, you'll see that Mr. Daniels and the partnership have engaged us. And so the Visitor Center does have some unique characteristics. As I mentioned, it's part of our community. And we are in dialogue with the partnership, and we continue that. One of the ways that we will do that, we're aiming to resolve our community plan update by the end of the summer. And so that's not exactly on the same time frame as the state legislature, but it doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity there to address the visitor center through future planning and zoning. And that, I think, would be a much preferable way to de-annexation. But I want to be sure to share that because we have so many of our county commissioners here today, and I'm so grateful for you coming out to engage with us.
Appreciate your time, Mayor, since I wouldn't sign up to do that. My name's Randy Thornton. I live here in town. My wife, many of you know her, she is Sharon Thornton. She runs the partnership down here. She works for them. Now, I don't work for the partnership. Okay. Been married to my sweet wife for a few weeks, 50 years. We got married in March.
Can't hear you.
We got married on March 28th, 75. Been 50 years. Been very blessed. Been coming to Townsend for 50 years. More than some of you have been living here. But we've been living here now for 8 years. The question I have is, we live down Big Valley. Got a nice state built home down there. You know where Big Valley is. All right, now, having said that, I don't think it's in the city limits, is it? It's not. Do you have to be in the city limits in order to be on this board?
You do.
Okay, I guess I have to do it. Because I hope in the next 2 years, my butt might be sitting in one of these chairs.
Yeah,
I do agree with everything that's going on here today. I understand both sides of it, believe it or not. I don't agree with everything Brian says. Daniel, I don't agree with a lot of stuff that goes on down there. But I do agree with what the gentleman just said right there. I'm a consummate businessman. I'm retired now, I'll be 70 pretty soon. I was head art director and advertising director, talked with doctors and stuff in Memphis. We're from Memphis, by the way. Trying to tell too many people, anyway, we are from there. But I have a lot of professional background and know how to deal with stuff, know how to do it. But if the bear hadn't gotten poked so bad, that's what I have. So I don't challenge everybody else, kind of challenge you guys. Love them and love all of you, care about your opinion. But you need to do just what that gentleman said. Shortest distance between 2 points is straight lines. You sit down at that table and talk. I don't think you have. And I don't think you hear what they got to say. I think you got a one-sided opinion on what you think this town ought to be. And that's where it is right now. If you get past that, you'll be fine. If you don't, you're up against a brick wall. It's your choices. But thank you for your opportunity.
We appreciate that, Mr. Thornton, and we certainly welcome our friends. As part of our community plan, we've actually reached out. We talk a lot about our community. It's the city residents, but it's also our friends and neighbors across the street. So, okay, one more, and then we'll take a pause, and we'll open it up again for public input.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, my name is Kevin McNeil. I live in Maryville. We received very important new information today from Commissioner Mike Baker, who I have tremendous respect for, telling us that the amendment is going to put the decision of annexation into the Blount County Commissioners. I want to remind everybody in the room that there is only one controlling authority. That's Tennessee law. And currently, in Tennessee law, there is only one law dealing with annexation. De-annexation requires a vote by the registered voters in Townsend. 3/4 of the voters are the only people in the world that can call for de-annexation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McNeil, and we appreciate that. For folks that are following along on this, the section of Tennessee Code annotated that Mr. McNeil has highlighted for us is Title 6, Chapter 51, 54. And I'll tell you, 51. Title 6, 51 is the current law on de-annexation. It's the law for the whole state. And so what this legislation would propose to do would be to change that law so that there's a different or another pathway for de-annexation. So Mr. McNeil has kind of crystallized it, and I'm grateful for his input. Okay, commissioners, let me do a check among the commissioners. Everybody doing okay? Okay. All right, so we've heard from our citizens. We know the issues. We've got a status update. We've even maybe got a little window into the future, courtesy of Mr. Akert, in terms of what might be happening coming up. Is there some action or something that you all would like to discuss and deliberate on? I've got a draft resolution in front of me.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Yes, sir.
I have not had any face-to-face discussions with One Partnership. Shame on me. Have you had face-to-face discussions with One Partnership? And if you have, what did you learn?
Well, I have regular discussions with the Bump Partnership, with all the different municipalities and all of our service providers around. So as the mayor, I normally talk with Brian Daniels. I won't say on a regular schedule, but periodically we do talk, and Mr. Daniels has participated in our Community Plan Advisory Committee. And so one of the things that I've asked the partnership to consider is what would it look like, what types of characteristics would need to be considered as part of our community plan update. And so I'm hopeful that they will come back and provide some information on what are some of those things that we might need to take into consideration to address the unique characteristics of the visitor center. That was something that I asked him about subsequent to finding out that this legislation has been proposed.
This is a question that I've had from some citizens. When did you personally learn about these two bills?
Yeah, I learned about these two bills, same as anybody. I track it on my phone. So anytime the Tennessee State Legislature is in session, you can go on your phone. There's an app that will be able to tell you if any bills are launched in the legislature. So I've routinely done this ever since even before I became on the city council, is tracking whenever the legislature is in session. So I think it was within about 4 or 5 days after it was introduced that I don't check it every day, but I became aware of it on my phone. And I think it was introduced on February the 5th. So I would say on or about, whenever the weekend was after that, probably about 4 days after that. That's how I became aware of it.
Okay. So while this bill was being hatched, you were unaware of it?
I was unaware of it.
Okay. That's what people wanted to know.
Yeah.
Why do you think it was hatched, Pat? You said it was hatched. Why do you think it was hatched?
Yeah, but we can't have a back and forth. I appreciate that. I'll let Commissioner Jenkins. We're doing our work now. We're doing it here in front of everybody. We're having our process.
I'll answer his question to us. Hatched, that's just a word I chose. It was conceived and lobbied and put forward without any knowledge, certainly of mine. I can't speak for everybody else. So I was caught completely cold. Is hatched the right word? I don't know. But I was caught completely cold.
Yeah, I would say I was not informed that this legislation was being drafted, adopted, suggested for introduction. I learned about it the same way as anybody else by following what's happened in the Tennessee legislature. Okay. Commissioners, I do have in front of me a draft resolution. We have had notification of this meeting sufficient that I think we can take action based on what our citizens have told us. I'll read through this so that everybody can hear what it looks like. You all will be thinking about it for the first time. We can take action at this meeting, or we can take action at a subsequent meeting. But one of the things that we haven't done at this point is have any sort of consolidated position by the city council, by our board of commissioners on this legislation. So this is something for y'all to consider. Whereas the city of Townsend plays a critical role in planning and land use and transportation policies to serve the needs of our citizens and advocates for our neighbors in the surrounding Tuckaleechee Cove. If it gets loud, I will have to close the door. Whereas the city of Townsend has listened to the thoughts and desires of our residents, our neighbors, and visitors through public meetings and community surveys, reaffirming the values and attributes that contribute to a high quality of life and visitor experience, namely our small town charm, peaceful aesthetic, proximity to outdoor beauty and recreation, in celebration of our cultural heritage. Whereas the City of Townsend supports our local economy through the adoption of thoughtful ordinances and regulations, recognizes the vital role of tourism, seeks to balance harmonious growth and development alongside respect for our values. Whereas the City of Townsend supports the assembly of our citizens, neighbors, and visitors to peacefully enjoy special events held throughout our city, and to that end has adopted a special events ordinance, among other measures taken to provide a mechanism for the thoughtful coordination of public safety. Whereas the City of Townsend has approved nearly all of the properly prepared special events permit applications received since the ordinance became effective, sometimes with modifications to ensure coordination, respect for local ordinances and public safety, including an often cited seafood festival. Whereas the City of Townsend has invested in and carefully developed our tourism theme, aligned with the peaceful side of the Smokies, through our land use policies, maintenance of infrastructure throughout the city, bike trail, public parking, green spaces, trash and litter, acquisition of parks for persons with disabilities, improvement of parks, monitoring of water quality in the Little River, and other investments that make Townsend a nice place to live and to visit. Whereas our local businesses provided property and land to create the Townsend Visitor Center, which was given to the Chamber of Commerce, forerunner of the Blunt Partnership, years ago, with the idea that they would be good stewards and closely work with our community. And its further development has been supported for years by significant tax receipts from Townsend's motels and hotels. Whereas the City of Townsend has embarked upon an update of our land use and transportation plan, also known as our community plan, and in doing so is planning for the unique characteristics and features of the Townsend Visitor Center, among other areas of the city. And whereas the city has a strong desire and commitment to work with the Blunt Partnership and the Smoky Mountain Tourism Development Authority to plan for the future of the Visitor Center. Now, whereas the Tennessee Code annotated contains appropriate language, already contains appropriate language describing procedures for de-annexation in Title VI, Chapter 51. Whereas the proposed legislation in House Bill 980 and Senate Bill 965 in the current session of the 114th General Assembly of the state of Tennessee seeks to amend the current TCA to dramatically change the rules for tourism authorities to request de-annexation from municipalities impacting small cities and local communities. Whereas the legislation could have significant consequences for the City of Townsend, impacting the quality of life for our residents and visitor experience, future development of land use and tourism investments, integrity of our city borders, and our revenue base. Be it resolved that the City of Townsend Board of Commissioners does not support the adoption of House Bill 980 and Senate Bill 965 due to the significant consequences it could have for our residents, visitors, and local community. We also do not support the legislation because of the potential impact to other municipalities, small cities, and communities across the state, and for the unknown and the unintended consequences it may bring. The City of Townsend calls on our state legislators not to advance the legislation in committee and to vote no in any floor session or further action. The City of Townsend calls on the Blunt Partnership and the Smoky Mountain Tourism Development Authority to work with us through our community plan update to provide for the unique characteristics of the Townsend Visitor Center so that it continues to be a resource to our community, the county, and the region, nurturing the benefits of tourism to our local economy and maintaining the aesthetic of the peaceful side of the Smokies, which our residents and visitors strongly desire. The City of Townsend calls on our residents, visitors, local community, and the Tuckaleechee Cove, Greater Blount County, and beyond to come together and work with the city and the Blunt Partnership to support a harmonious approach to the development of the Townsend Visitor Center that maintains a high quality of life for our citizens, creates wonderful experiences for our visitors, and recognizes the vital inputs of tourism to our local economy. The City of Townsend commits to being a good listener and a thoughtful partner, willing to compromise and find mutually beneficial solutions consistent with our values. The City of Townsend commits to creating a positive atmosphere where respectful and thoughtful discussions can occur and all points of view are heard. The City of Townsend commits to maintaining the high quality of life and the peaceful enjoyment of our natural surroundings for our residents and visitors alike, the public welfare demanding it. Commissioners, it's a draft of a resolution for your consideration, and I welcome your feedback and thoughts.
I have one question. Has the lawyer looked over this and?
City attorney has reviewed this.
Okay.
So if we took action on this resolution today, what would be the next step after that?
The actions contained in the resolution.
Right. Who would see this, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Well, this would become a resolution of the City of Townsend and would highlight a common position, and we can share it as we see fit.
Okay.
May I suggest that you take action on the next call meeting so that I can get it in file form and get a number, because it doesn't actually, it's not our resolutions have to be numbered, they only take one vote. If you want to keep the call meeting for Thursday, then you can take
We have
action.
another call meeting on Thursday. What time is our call meeting on Thursday?
After the planning commission,
After planning commission,
around 7-ish.
7 o'clock. Okay.
I would like that because I'd like time to think about this.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good. Other suggestions? Deliberations?
I'm in agreement with that.
Okay. We'll do this until our next call meeting. Any further deliberations?
And as mentioned, try to get with Blunt Partnership and talk with them as well.
If we come together as a commission, it will need to follow the Tennessee Open Records and Open Meeting Act. And so it would need to be, my understanding, in a forum much like this. I'd be happy to invite them to do that.
Well, I agree, because there's, a sense of urgency with this, so I think it's in our best interest to forge some sort of solution before any of the votes.
Well, I have heard a lot about negotiating with the Blunt Partnership. So we have a path. The normal way that we would do it is through the community plan. And so if we want to take a look at different ways to address the unique characteristics of the visitor center, we have an opportunity to do that. It's not on the same timetable. We could discuss with them things that they have concerns about. Certainly, I think we're always open to hearing concerns. I think they frequently attend a lot of our meetings, so we can do that. But the course of this is legislation at the state level, and so it's on its own time frame because it applies to municipalities across the state.
I'd like to suggest that you as mayor engage with Blunt Partnership on behalf of the commission and then report back to us. And then if further discussion is needed with the whole commission and Blunt Partnership, we can move forward. Otherwise, it's going to just drag on.
Okay, I'd be happy to do that. If you all direct me to do that, I'd be happy to do that and bring that back. Okay. Anything further? Okay. Now that concludes our work session here. I did indicate that we have a second opportunity for folks to come and provide feedback and comment. So I'd like to open that now. I don't know if we want to go down the list again. Maybe I'll just let people raise their hands and they can come up for some additional comment before we adjourn. Mary Kay, would you like to come and address us?
Earlier you mentioned, you keep mentioning public safety. I come to a lot of the meetings, and every time you ask Chief Condi, what about the roads, how's the traffic, and he has his set sentence, he says, it's all great, it's all fine, nothing to worry about. So I have talked to citizens who live in Woods Valley, that when the Jeep guys are here, or the Bronco guys are here, and the road between Townsend and Pigeon Forge is at a standstill, they cannot get out onto the road. The other issue is, because we all use cell phones, we all know that if you're in an area where there are a lot of people using their cell phones, it's difficult to get service. And they were complaining that they could not get cell service. So if there was an emergency, if someone had a heart attack, they couldn't get cell service because there was too much traffic, and they couldn't get an ambulance because there was too much traffic. So I just wanted to be noted that I want to know, what are you going to do when someone sues you because you said, your city said, oh, it's all okay, traffic's great, because you have too many people coming to the festival, and they sued Blunt Partnership because they brought too many people to a small road in a small town and overloaded it with vehicles and people. That's a question for you to think about. My other thing, it sounds pretty sneaky to me, which is not a good word, that Blunt Partnership kept this to themselves, that they didn't notify you, the city mayor, at the very least, of what they are trying to do in our city. And you think that, I have trouble with, maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, but you think you can go to a table and work with someone who has already said they want to make sure they get 2 lawsuits on the books, and that they did this behind our backs. I find it difficult to believe and trust a group that behaves in such manner. And then my thought is, if they care so much about the city of Townsend, and they're getting the greater percentage of the bed tax than the city does, and we have a swinging bridge that is necessary for people on Dark Island in flooding, we have a special people's park that shouldn't have anybody on it because it's in such bad shape. We have a city park that has a great barn and great opportunity for the citizens. We have a bike path. All of these things need repairs and help. And because that greater percentage is going to them instead of the city, we don't have the money to maintain our city just that way because so if they care so much about us, how about they use their lobbyists that they use against us to go to the state or go to the county and get that law changed so that at the very least they split that tax 50-50. City of Townsend with them. They're getting way more than 50%. So those are suggestions I have, and things. The lawsuit is what I'm worried about. Someone dies because there's too many vehicles on a road that was deemed safe and okay. That's a concern for them and for us.
Okay, thank you, Mary Kay. Who else would like to? Mr. Kelly.
My name is Tom Talley. And I've been here and around, I think it's about 81 years now, but family's been in business here for 77 years, and so there's a little bit of history that you all know. I'm a little bit of a history buff, so I'm going to go into some of it. 1950-something, the late 1950s, there's a group of business people in this valley. This was before all the residents started moving here. the few people who lived here formed the Chamber of Commerce. And they put a little log building down here on Appalachian Village. It was called a visitor center, a welcome center, or something to that effect, right, Don? And they handed out brochures. And then about, what year was it you all bought the property? About 69?
It was 83, 84.
83, 84. My mom and dad, and Aunt Thelma, Don and Sandy, Kyle Middleton bought an acre and a half at the corner there at Myers Road and 321. And moved that little log building up there. And Don knows a whole lot more about this than I do, but there was an agreement that the county commission was going to buy it, but the county commission backed out on it.
No. Wait.
But
I speak.
yeah, come on up here.
We bought it
Help me out.
for 5 years and paid for it, and then the next 5 years, the Tourism Authority or the Visitor Center, Visitor Bureau, then bought it back, and that's how it got.
Thank you.
So anyways, in the meantime, the Townsend Chamber, the Blount County Chamber of Commerce wanted the Blount County Townsend Chamber of Commerce to join them. So the business folks here in Townsend said, okay, we'll join you then, we'll combine our resources and make things work. And at any rate, the little center kept working up there. And then they issued a hotel motel tax, and it was only, what, 2%? Something like that? 3%. And this is where the point that I'm getting. And this is where the point that I'm getting to then is that they built the first part of the visitor center, already about built there. And there was a festival that was being held in Cape Coral called the Old Timers Day. And all the old people who had been moved out of Cape Coral would get together over there and join one another and have a good time. And time the Park Service said it's too much. We got too much traffic. So they moved the Old Timers Day over here and to cut Beach Go. And at any rate, the amount of hotel motel tax was really not that great. I mean, it was not a big deal back then. The rate was too low. And when they started having these festivals, they said, we need to buy a parking area. Joe Myers had 10 acres for sale there. They bought the parking area. And in the meantime, about the same time that they did that, they raised the hotel motel tax to 4.5%. I understand it's 5% now. But they raised the hotel motel tax. It increased their revenue tremendously. They bought the 10 acres. And this is a big thing that you all need to be aware of. They rechartered the whole system. And you all need to be looking at that charter. Because Sandy was in the meeting, I remember it distinctly, it was in the basement of the Chamber of Commerce in Maryville. And she and I both sat there and we said, we're opposed to this 4.5%. And they said, well, we're going to create this tourism bureau. And we're going to select a group of people to manage it. And we're going to rotate these people in and out of the bureau's board of directors. And every time we rotate, the businesses of Townsend will be able to appoint 2 members to that board. Well, we finally acquiesced. We said, okay, we'll go along with this. And they appointed not us, not the businesses in Townsend. They appointed 2 people. Fortunately, they did select 2 people who were in the hospitality business in Townsend. One of them is still on there. He's been on there for 12 years, never been rotated. I don't know how Mr. Joplin got on the board. I don't know who selected him, whether he was selected by businesses in Townsend or whether it was just a unilateral decision on the part of Brown Daniels or whoever. The other person is a real estate agent here in Townsend, not in hospitality business, really. But the point in all this history is, this is the way it all came about, more or less. I may have told you all a few lies here, I don't know. But it happened. You have what you have. You're going to have to deal with it. The first place I would go back to, if I were in your shoes, is to go back to that charter for the blunt partnership and go back to that board of directors and the board of directors selection, because I think Townsend truly needs people in the hospitality arena to be making decisions. You've got 40 acres up there, you ain't gonna get rid of it. You've got a commission here that maybe we can vote y'all out, I don't know, but maybe we won't too. But my point is, you need to be looking at the organization structure. And another thing that bothers me tremendously is that the Visitors Bureau, Visitors Authority now, when they used to be collecting $400,000 or $500,000 a year in taxes, they're collecting more. They're getting more money now than Jim Clinton. They don't know what to do with it. They've got to spend it on something, so they go buy land and they keep building. Well, it's kind of good to Townsend that they have built, they have attracted a better economy into this area. But there are also some tourist needs, just like your handicap park down here. There's a railroad museum over here, Sam Houston School, Clayton Center for the Arts. They do give some money to the baseball, the softball tournaments every year. They give about $10,000 out of their $2 million. That ain't much, ain't much. They get $20,000 a year. The Heritage Center, not much out of their $2 million, but I think some fundamental reorganization really needs to be looked into. And I think it's not just you folks, I think the county commission needs to be looking into it also.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
I'll let it go with that.
Thank you so much. Coming now toward the end, so Mr. Eckert, you'd like to address the Board of Commissioners, and I'll take anybody else that wants to, but we do need to start wrapping it up.
Okay, so something I said earlier was brought into question, and I'll try to explain where it's coming from, because a lot of folks don't necessarily understand the pre-existing conditions, pre-existing permitted uses, and...
I'll stop for 1 second. Jeff Joplin, can you take the yellow chair outside, please?
Yeah, I think something's wrong, right?
Thank you. You can go ahead, Mr. Akron.
It's Akron, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
The laws concerning pre-existing permitted uses trump anything new that you all pass. And a perfect example of that is more than 100 properties along Little River are zoned B1. If you own a property along Little River and you look at the map and it says B1 and you live in a house there, that is not permitted under Townsend's current law. you're not allowed to do that, but you were grandfathered in because it happened before the new law was passed. Well, when you all now pass new laws that limit property owners' ability to use their property for permitted uses, they still get to do what they've always been doing on their piece of property regardless of your new law. And I was actually at one of your meetings for another matter, mine personally, when I heard your attorney tell you that if it's a permitted use, you can't say no. And then I heard one of the commissioners say, I don't care if it's legal or not, I'm voting against it. That attitude is why the Blunt Partnership is concerned. They're a property owner in your municipality that is concerned that you all are going to say no for a pre-existing use that your body approved. Well, when the famous Seafood Festival permit was declined, that raised a red flag with them and their attorney, as it would any other property owner in Townsend, if all of a sudden you told Joe Bob over here, whose house is in B1, hey, by the way, you can't have a house here in B1. It's against the rules. And Joe Bob goes, well, my house has been here a really long time. This is what we've been doing. How can you tell me that? So the lawsuits that I mentioned previously that they want to have won before they de-annex is if you all tell them no on a permitted use that was in your zoning regs, in your municipal rules when their property use was approved. If you tell them no on that, they're going to take not only the city of Townsend to court, but every commissioner that votes no personally, because it's against the law. I know that because I'm a sitting commissioner, and we're told that by our attorney on a regular basis. If somebody meets the letter of the law that was in place when they had their property, they're grandfathered in as long as they're still doing the same thing. They don't want to sue Townsend. They don't want to ever be denied a permit either. But when you use your opinion to block something that was legal at the time that your predecessors passed their ability to have this whole big festival thing, you're operating outside the law according to their attorney and your own attorney that I heard say it to you one night in a public meeting. And that was the reason that they're talking about lawsuits. If you're operating outside the law, they're going to sue you, as would any John Q. public that had the money to file a lawsuit. It's relatively expensive to file lawsuits. That's why it doesn't happen. My particular situation in Townsend, the written letter of the law was against me. I didn't have a lawsuit. Didn't have one. But if I had been denied what you all approved, we'd be in court right now because it says that I can do what I'm in the process of trying to do right now. Y'all did the right thing by me. I'm very thankful for it. It's the reason why I'm trying to help you on things like the Dark Island Bridge. But I also am trying to call to your attention that all of this can be prevented by your all's attitude. And it was brought up earlier that it would be a great idea to have a roundtable discussion. Mayor Prater, I would ask you to reach out to Mayor Mitchell and ask that it happen in front of the county commission in a big forum, since the county commission is getting ready to be responsible for whether or not we accept them into the county's jurisdiction if they ever were to be annexed. I think it would be a great idea to involve a whole bunch of parties and invite those legislators to participate in the open forum, and it not just be between you and Brian Daniels, it be between all of us and Brian Daniels. Let's put it all out on the table and discuss it. That's what I think. But I wanted to offer the explanation for what I was talking about them winning 2 lawsuits before they did that. They would have had to been told no by you, gone to court because they felt like it violated their property ownership rights for you telling them no and winning twice before they were planning to de-annex. And
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riggs. Okay. Last call. Anyone else would like to address the Board of Commissioners? Christine, you've still got some minutes left. So.
I just wanted to say something that hasn't been said, is that personally, I think that this came about because of our community plan work, and that we've been showing that visitors and residents all kind of agree on the same thing. They kind of want Townsend to stay as much as it can as possible. And of course, we're not saying we don't want tourism, but that's something that I think is very important to me. That's probably one of the reasons that they went ahead and did this. When you're saying that they want to have 2 lawsuits and then the de-annex, why didn't they do this then? Why didn't they wait until there was a problem? Why did they have to do this and do it kind of underhandedly where we didn't know what they were doing? So those are the comments I have.
Thank you very much,
Mayor, I
Ms.
need to
Levine.
speak.
Yes, ma'am.
I will make it very succinct.
Yes, ma'am. Please, come ahead.
One point, my name is Sandra Hedrick, and I live in the city of Townsend. One thing that we've heard a lot about tonight, and we've heard a lot about it in other places, a lot of people doing a lot of talking about something they know nothing about. Please research what tax is what, where does it go, who gets it, before you start running your mouth, okay, that's something else. But anyhow, in this issue, I think that if the city council would understand, and the mayor, not defer everything to the community plan. Let's recognize why the Visitors Bureau is having issues with the city of Townsend. It's because you're making it very difficult for them to do what they have been charged to do. Back when this ordinance came in for events, and we had to sit in the audience and wait an hour and a half for the Little River Railroad and Lumber Company Museum, who wants to have an event to do what it has done for, gosh, 10, I don't know how many years, to get permission to do it, and then make us, you did give us a waiver on the fee, but to make a fee for getting to have the event that we've always had, it's kind of government overreach, in the opinion of myself. When you want to talk about how inconvenient it is when the Jeeps come to town, and so you can't get out on the street. I would like to document the number of people who actually are inconvenienced by those Jeeps. And let's compare that to the traffic that we have had in this town for years because of fall color. We don't get out on the Wears Valley Road sometimes. We wait. And when they put the street light in, it helped a little, the traffic signal. It helped a little, but we have traffic. I would like facts, not public opinion from a lot of loud-speaking people. Facts. How long are you inconvenienced? Noise, when you turn down an event because of noise. It's personal. Because I've heard you say it personally, I don't want any noise. And your attorney advised you, your personal opinions will get you in trouble. So, it's in our ordinance now, we have a noise ordinance. Okay, it's there. Noise, traffic, inconvenience, I would like to see, just how you are inconvenienced. And also, if anyone's interested, Tom Talley's got 5 years on me of age, but I've got a lot of history too, and was involved with the organization of the Smoky Mountain Visitors Bureau from day one. So some of the things he said I don't exactly remember, and I would love to get that all out on the table. How we went from 3 to 5%, how we went from a public entity to a private entity. I think that all needs to be discussed. This is not the time or the place, but we need to know, people need to know what you're talking about before you start doing the talking. Thank you.
I'm going to give the last word to our Commissioner, Jeff John.
I just want to say briefly that the position that you guys are in as the city commission is awful. We, as county commissioners, we've sat in the same position many times, where you guys are elected by the residents that live here. And the residents, a lot of times, there's a roadblock between what's better for businesses and what's better for residents. And you guys are looking out for the best interest of the residents, the people that live here, the people that are growing up here, the people that are retired here, the people that are, here for whatever reasons. There's probably less business owners that elect you than there are residents. So it puts you in a bad place, because the Blunt Partnership and the work that they're doing is to help promote business, which is extremely important for the taxes that the city needs. But sometimes it's in opposition to what the residents want. So it puts you guys in a really bad position. I hope that everybody understands that that's here. But thank you guys for everything that you do, and good luck. And I do agree for sure that you guys need to go to the partnership and hash it out. But good luck.
We're about right on time. Let me turn to see if y'all have anything else you'd like to share at this time before we adjourn.
I would like to thank people for their comments. Some of them were very interesting. Some of them I had never thought of before. Some of them were right along with what I currently think. But some people were very well prepared, and some people provided some very good information.
Thank you, Commissioner Jenkins. I would echo that. We want to thank each and every one of you, and for all the folks who couldn't stay, for the time they spent with us this afternoon. It does make us better informed as a board of commissioners to try to do the right thing. So we very much appreciate that. And Brandon, you have one more?
I just wanted to clarify that. I in no way am against tourism or changing tourism at all, but it's necessary. This is where we live. We all knew it when we moved here. I have no interest in changing, but I have personally been stuck in that traffic driving the school bus, and personally and myself have not had service because of all the overloaded towers, and not been able to communicate when I've dropped kids off 52 minutes late. And the parents are freaking out, and I have that's just nothing. So those are the kinds of concerns the residents have. Is it going to get worse? So and I think that's perfectly understandable. Businesses have different concerns. I do think you're in an arm wrestling match. I mean, with the club partnership, I mean, if they want something, they don't want to be denied. It's kind of a difficult situation to be in. And I just worry if it's annexed, what happens if the venue changes and it's sold? Will it encourage other properties? I mean, that's the slippery slope too. So hopefully, it sounds like there's a lot of miscommunication between, I heard the seafood festival was denied, and that's what sparked this whole thing. So I don't know if that's changed, but hopefully there you can get some clarification this week and maybe some better communication terms.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. Commissioner, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Or should I call it?
Special call meeting on Thursday night, and we'll take it up again following the Planning Commission. Planning Commission meets at 6 p.m. and when the Planning Commission concludes, probably before 7 o'clock, we'll have a special call meeting where we'll take this issue. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you all so much for coming.